Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming and thank you for being curious about curiosity. If you can see the screen here, you can see a picture of a front door. Not just any front door, it's actually my front door. There's a smart lock on my front door that I, being an early adopter of technology, got around 6-7 years ago. Teenage children, keys, getting locked out, you can get the picture. Really happy with the smart lock until somebody happened to say to me, "What did your insurers say about it?" It's a little bit embarrassed, having worked in insurance, to not even have considered that as a question. But I diligently phoned, explained that I now had a smart lock, just checking that my home and contents that I'd had with them for 10 years was still going to be enforced. What do you think that they said? Yay? No. No. Smart lock was not a standard 5-lever mortise deadlock. So unfortunately, despite their appetite, they were no longer able to cover me and they lost a client. Had they been more curious about how my needs were changing, had they asked me better questions, had they understood more about my needs as a client, they may not have lost me as a customer. And it is not just about smart locks. We are in an age of digital acceleration. I am sure that as part of the BIBA conference, you have heard lots about AI, lots about automation, lots about the way that it's changing how we're working. It's definitely shifting business models, and it's shifting the risks for us and our clients. I've just picked a handful of things for this slide. We've got a vessel that has got sensors on its cargo and tracking when it goes into different water zones. We've got an aircraft that is now powered by lithium batteries and passengerless drones and all the risks that they pose to the aviation industry. In our property world, we've got connected buildings, connected plants, connected manufacturing, providing real-time data. And we're exploring space more than ever, and the satellites are now giving us instant real-time insights. We have got enormous amount of data. The industry is moving super fast, but how do we build in that curious drive in order to keep up? And in many cases, stop our clients out innovating us. So I'm Caroline Bedford. You've seen my front door. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of EDII. We are an insurance excellence accelerator. I have spent the last 30 years in technology and digital change in the insurance and specialty insurance market globally. And I created EDII 5 years ago to make sure that everybody who works for an underwriter or a broking organization or anywhere in the insurance industry has those skills to complement their expertise to help them stay ahead of the game. And please do connect with us on LinkedIn. So you've all been curious enough to come today to talk about curiosity, thank you. Dictionary definition. Curiosity is a strong desire to know or to learn something. Seems like a no-brainer, seems like something all of our organizations should be promoting with us. Just a little show of hands. Who has curiosity listed as a competency or a behavior on their goals, their objectives, or the way that they are performance managed at the moment? Who's got? 3 or 4 of you. 3 or 4 of you. What I will say is that's not actually representative. That's a really good stat. So I should be chatting to you later. We don't see many organizations yet building in the rigor around that. Which leads me to ask the question, if curiosity is common sense, why is it not common practice? Now, there's a number of reasons that we see. So we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people through our doors every year learning how to make themselves into what we call intrapreneurs. So bring those curiosity capabilities back to their organizations. But what we're seeing is a status quo mentality. So why are we seeing individuals reluctant to be curious? Hands up if you are not pressured for time. No, absolutely. So everything that we do has got deadlines, we're time frame driven, we need to deliver. And what we tend to do, therefore, is we rely on what we have recently done, what we've done in the recent past, what we've done in the last year. So we replay. We also lean heavily on assumptions. What we know, we work on that. We assume, we make an assumption that if something had changed or something was urgent, we would be notified about it. We take the responsibility away from ourselves. And from an individual level, we are hardwired to help. We are programmed to solve. In fact, in many cases, we feel that our value is in knowing the answers. I'm hoping that I can share with you some tips and techniques that will make you start thinking about that differently. But let's zoom out, not maybe just to a company, but also to an industry. So on a bigger scale, we need everything done yesterday. We are absolutely moving in a rapid pace of change. We are absolutely digitally accelerating. But if speed is the default, what are we missing? We're in the risk industry, but we're risk adverse. We find comfort in certainty. In fact, our projects are structured. The type of work that we do, moving to agile ways of working, tends to be outside of a lot of people's comfort zones. So that's a difficult change to work towards. And last but not least, we have not baked curiosity into our process. Insurance is a regulated market. We are heavily process-driven, as we indeed should be. It's what sets us apart from a number of our competitors. But we need to be able to find a way to build uncertainty into processes that have been around for a long time. Let me tell you how I live my life. By design thinking. At EDII, our mission is to make curiosity corporate. So make it fit us rather than us fit curiosity. Quick show of hands. I know we had a gentleman there. Who is familiar with design thinking? There's a man here we can ask lots of questions for. Well done. Design thinking is a methodology, it's a mindset, and it's also a culture. It's what inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs use to understand what products they could and should be building. We've used it at EDII for 5 years, and we've baked it into our insurance processes because it is structured. It's a way of being corporately curious, and there's 5 elements to it. We start off with empathize, not to be confused with sympathize. So we focus on those tools, those techniques to drive the data that we need to truly understand the problem, the challenge, or the opportunity from the perspective of the person or the industry that is experiencing it. What we then do is we have a whole host of tools that allow us to synthesize that data, to understand what patterns and themes are coming out of it, what priorities are being surfaced, and then ultimately, which of those problems might we wish to prioritize. It is only then that we even get to the solution stage, the ideation stage. I think you'll be talking to lots of people about technology today. They will be trying to find a problem for their technology to fix. Our method is find the problem first, and then figure out what the right solution is. And that is what curiosity will help you do. So we ideate. We then prototype, creating the smallest version of something that we can to test it with our audience. Whether that is a product, whether that is a process, whether that is a service, whether that is with your colleagues, whether that is with your brokers or your clients. The process is fully versatile to adapt to anyone that you want to provide or receive a service from. So, this may not be you, but I have heard these type of conversations go on. So I'm just going to give you an example of what a typical client conversation might look like. So I've made up the fictitious James. He's an account exec for what I hope is a fictitious Apex risk. If it isn't, I apologize. And we've got Sarah, who's operations director for Voltage Components. They make parts for vehicles and machinery. James has gone to talk to Sarah about a renewal. He's had a coffee and some pleasantries already. So getting in to his conversation now, James might ask Sarah, okay, lovely, so anything new we should know? And Sarah will go, no, as you know, we're still manufacturing components, a couple of changes, but nothing specific. The next question from James is, okay, so you're still working across the same 3 sites, yes? Yep, same sites at the moment, just a few enhancements. And James is then just double checking, so no claims that we don't know of already, only that small fire last year. And now he comes in for the close. Super. Okay, so we're all good to renew. So yes, I think so. I think so, James. So an example of a standard conversation that's actually quite commonplace, but also very transactional. Let's see how James could have uncovered some more insight had he used some more curious questions. So Sarah, thanks for the welcome. How has the business changed in the last year? Well, we started moving into electric vehicle components. And what impact has that had operationally? Well, we've got new machinery, we've had some supplier changes, and we've had to upgrade some of the skills of our operatives. Okay, that sounds quite significant. How does your current cover reflect how you're operating? I'm not sure it does. It might not. We haven't reviewed it in a while. Okay, well, we can certainly help with that. What would your ideal protection look like? Well, we now need protection that can lead us as we grow. So the difference between the questions from James there have drawn out and uncovered a lot more nuggets of value than the transactional conversation. James, did he but know it, has used EDII's discovery system. He has elicited, identified, shifted, and explored. So he's used this process to take Sarah through a journey. And let me just share a little bit more about that. From the conversation, he's uncovered that the shift in operations for Voltage has uncovered new risks, that the cover absolutely needs addressing, and that now that they are growing, they are looking for a broking partner who can grow with them and be a thought leader in that space. So you have got your discovery system, which has got 4 levels to it, and we use it to prepare questions in advance. We don't then go and read that verbatim to the client, but we prepare what we want to know, and then we craft a journey that we can use as a framework. We start off with elicit. This is where we craft questions, once we get into the conversation, that are designed to uncover a clear picture of the context, the status quo. So we open that up to get our subject thinking. What we then do is we identify, so we craft questions that will help us laser in on the client's priorities. What are the blockers? What are the barriers? What are the obstacles? Once we've got those two levels under our belt, it's our role as being curious experts to help that subject start to think away from the status quo. So we want them to think more what if, and we move them into shift questions. So we craft a question that would ask their view if that obstacle barrier didn't exist. What would they do instead? And then finally, and this works perfectly with people who are in a more traditional mindset, we direct them to explore what that wonderful ideal would look like if they had unlimited possibilities, unlimited solutions, and ideally unlimited budget. So these are layers, and we would recommend that you work on these with your team and you craft layered questions that you can become comfortable with and use them to guide your conversation. We start trying to reset our minds and train our minds, so we start thinking in ways that don't rely on our own biases, our own assumptions. And we do that by framing questions like, tell me about, describe, how would you? We then start saying, in what way does this inhibit you? What are the most important elements in that information that you've just shared with me? The shifting to disruptive thoughts. If that were possible, what would you do if those obstacles didn't exist? And then finally, we start modeling questions by using this explore technique. How could you, if you had a magic wand, what would that look like? One of the things that you might notice about these questions, they are open-ended questions. Again, seems like common sense, but we don't see this necessarily as common practice. Now, in the design thinking model, open-ended questions are used in the early stages, when we are empathizing, when we are in forensic scientist mode, we are questioning. We transition more to closed questions when we want to go for the close, when we are testing whether our ideas have met the criteria. We see a lot of people asking what are closed questions in a sympathetic way. So really practicing getting those open-ended questions to be common practice is a skill that we would advocate practicing. I'm going to ask for a show of hands here. Is this a curious question or is it a closed question? Put your hand up if this is a question that you think models curiosity. Have you had any issues with your cover this year? You're good at this. We could reframe that. What's changed in your operations that might affect how your cover performs? You will uncover many more insights through asking the second one. Are you planning to grow next year? Is that curious? What are your priorities for next year and what risks might come with them? And last but not least, one we ask a lot, does the team understand the process? Again, what's been the hardest part of the new process for the team to get behind? So curiosity, the CII, in fact, with their professional map, have pinpointed curiosity as one of the most important competencies and behaviors that help an organization deliver good outcomes for their clients, which we all know is one of the top FCA requirements. So modeling and implementing curiosity, it brings you many insights, which then, please, should lead to actions. And this is where design thinking comes in. So we use our questions, and there's a number of different ways that we do that. So the questioning technique of the discovery system, it's a qualitative data tool. So we are, in this instance, seeking the emotion, the reasoning, the human responses behind the questions. We will also empathize by using quantitative data. So in many cases, we'll be checking a market. We'll be looking to see, is there a product fit for the service and product that we're creating? Once we have defined that, we can then start to look at what product do we need to create to support our clients' cyber risk in more detail? How is agentic AI changing the risks that our customers are facing? What solutions do we need to develop? And the actions that we take, whatever role you play in your broker or your insurance organization, the language of prototyping, the language of testing, it's come out of the IT world. It's no longer in the basement, it's in the business. So we should all be practicing progress, not perfection, testing the smallest things that our clients have told us to see how we can grow. So before I give you some tips, some homework, I'll put my little headsets on. Who's curious? Who's got a question that I might be able to help them with? Maybe it's an open one.
It's in the air like you just don't care. Wave your arms. Any questions?
We've got one at the front here. Thank you.
What would you say the best way of implementing design thinking is?
It's a great question. Thank you for that. Design thinking is a process. So I would say that many organizations, in fact, some of the people sitting next to you, their organizations have implemented design thinking methodologies to support some of their more system-led change programs. So there are some projects and programs that we don't have discretion over. We simply do have to do what's needed. But design thinking can be implemented into your business analysis. It can be implemented into your customer relation programs. I would say if we start off by really focusing on the empathize phase, asking better questions, finding better answers, we can then start to roll out some of the more detailed aspects of it. Thank you, Lucian. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Just pop that on. So, I opened up by saying, if curiosity is common sense, why isn't it common practice? If curiosity is common sense, let's make it. Let's make it common practice. Here's my top tips. Number one, ask appropriate questions. So in the beginning, ask open-ended questions. Towards the end, ask closed questions. But check what you are asking. Check yourself and sometimes reframe your question if you find yourself falling into traditional habits. 2, challenge your own assumptions. At this conference last year, we didn't have people talking to us about agentic AI. We didn't have a prolific array of insurers and brokers showcasing the digital twin technology that they are providing to their clients. So don't assume the status quo remains the status quo. We should get a t-shirt. Hold off on your own opinion. When you are in empathize mode, you are eliciting. We can nod, we can make people feel comfortable, but what we don't do is talk about us. We are researching. Our opinion at that stage comes later. And last but not least, listen more than you speak. If you find yourself dominating client conversations, take a back step and think, what have I uncovered from them? What have I left on the table? And that is what curiosity will help you uncover. You've got a handout with some tips and techniques. Let me leave you with my belief, because I see it daily. Curiosity keeps you relevant. The insight that it gives makes you valuable. So keep learning and start asking. And ideally, learn more with EDII. Thank you.